lifelong anonymity for James Bulger's killers is likely to cost £4 million.
Thank you very much. You're watching The Right Stuff. We're live on 5 with Richard Herring, Anne Diamond and Nihal Althanayake. And you can find out more about all of them, including details of Richard's tour dates, by going to our website, our brand new all-singing and dancing website, 5.tv/rightstuff. Anne can even look at it on her iPhone, can't you, Anne? Yeah.
I am so hip and modern. I think the iPhone... Oh, no. And other... You said it.
And other...
And other portable electronic, wonderful computer-like
yes.
devices. Oh, wonderful.
Dear, dear, dear. Still to come. Should schools teach kids the dangers of pornography, as they already do with booze and drugs? 0207 173 5555 is the number for your thoughts. A leading porn director says they should, but can anyone watching understand why? First, though, would you like to know the names of Doncaster's so-called Devil Brothers, the boys who pleaded guilty to an horrific attack on 2 other lads last week? The parents of their victims, aged just 11 and 9, say they would like us all to know. Automatic anonymity, they argue, means the attackers can hide from what they've done. More persuasive, perhaps, is the argument that their sons fear further attacks when the boys are freed, something that could happen as soon as 5 years from now. Now, if their names were in the public domain, it would be much easier for the victims, these other boys, to know where their attackers were. And, of course, we were given the names of the 2 boys who murdered the toddler James Bulger. Now, the judge on that case said public interest is what made 2 10-year-olds kill. The public interest in what made them kill is what overrode the personal interest of Robert Thompson and John Venables, their killers, and a decision, as we've just heard, that cost us £4 million, the price of new identities for life. Now, you can already read plenty about the Devil Boys and their upbringing, or total lack of it, in the papers. How mum put cannabis in their food to keep them quiet, the violence at home. And you can read about what they did to their victims, beating them to the point of death, only stopping when their arms hurt, battering them with branches, bricks, rocks, forcing them to eat nettles and swallow glass, and then perform humiliating sex acts, everything filmed on a mobile. Now, you can know all of that without knowing their names. Would we know any more if we knew the names as well, Anne?
No, no, we wouldn't. I mean, we call it naming and shaming, but that doesn't make any sense at all, because do you really think anyone involved in this case would be ashamed? They're clearly not ashamed, they're beyond that. So it's not going to shame them. Naming them would only call for vigilante acts of vengeance. Naming them isn't going to do any good at all. What we really want to know... I suppose I believe in the system that says, all right, now they've got to go away and try and be taught to be human beings, which is great, you know, almost given the upbringing they were never given. And that would be wonderful, and if they're given anonymity, then that's fine, as long as I can be reassured that it has worked. The problem I think we're all facing now is that we have no confidence in the system, because the system let the 2 boys down, the 2 boys who were tortured. The system also let down the 2 boys who actually perpetrated the awfulness, because they should have been plucked out of that family years ago. And,
well, they had, and then they went back.
Yeah, and that's what's wrong, and what is wrong is that report... we don't need the names, we want the report, we want it out in the open. We don't even need to name and shame social workers, because I'm sure that most of them were doing their utmost. It's the system we need to look at and find out what's wrong. And how can we look at that system and discover what's wrong if we don't shed light on it?
So you're more interested in knowing...
naming these kids isn't going to do any good. I mean, Venables and what's-his-name aren't called that anymore anyway. No. So, I mean, what's the point in knowing the names?
Well, I suppose that there's one issue, and, of course, it doesn't apply to juveniles, but, you know, we believe in open justice in this country, Richard. So, you know, if a man accused of a sex crime and subsequently cleared entirely, we know his name, that's put in the public domain, but we don't know about 2 youngsters who did something really, really appalling.
Yeah, but they're children and they are victims of this as much as anyone else, and they've been abused as children. So if we care about child abuse in this country correctly, these kids who've done this are as much victims as the people they picked on, you know, and then, you know, it should have been.
Does that mean that all adult paedophiles who are victims of sex abuse themselves, then surely their names should remain secret?
Well, I think it's a different thing when it's kids, you know, and I think with the Jamie Bulger thing, I think as well, naming them, it hasn't helped. It hasn't made any difference. In fact, by naming them, if they're worried about them coming back, you know, if they're anonymous, they're more likely to come back. If we don't name them now, at least those people will always know who they are, you know, the actual victims. But hopefully you know, they can be taken and looked after and you know, helped rather than, you know, I don't think this is a cause, a knee-jerk for punishment. You know, they're kids, they've done something terrible, they need to be educated against that and hopefully turned around. And, you know, they won't be released until the people feel that they're capable of coming back to society. It's a minimum of 5 years. It's not like they're going to just let them go if they're going to go and do the same thing
again. If you think Thompson and Venables were out in 7 and a bit, then and that was for murder, then one could assume that. I mean,
but you know, they were children when they did, and it's an awful thing that happened. They were children, and they had a horrible upbringing, and then you can't say, well, now you've got to go to prison for the rest of your life for a mistake you made as a child.
We deserve to be told what's happening to them and their. We don't need to be told their names or their places, but I want to know what's happening to them, whether it works. I want to know what's happening to their families. I want to know. I mean, they were siblings.
So you kind of want ongoing progress reports about what's happening to them.
I think we deserve that.
Personally, I would like to I don't need to know the parents' names or what they look like, but I think they should be imprisoned. I think what they did to their children in brutalising their children. I mean, I have children, and to do those things in front of those children and to be that cruel. That's a criminal offence, and they should be imprisoned, because you can't put those children back with those people before they have clearly undermined their right to ever be parents. Again, that's just not human behaviour to do that in front of children, to threaten to do those things to his wife that he did and putting cannabis in. I mean, what are these people in all this? You know, it's the devil mum and dad, as far as I'm concerned. You know, the children to be brutalised to that point. That they have no moral compass.
We're never going to know what happens to that family, and I think we deserve to know.
It's very interesting. I'd never actually thought of that. That one should get progress reports. That if the boys have anonymity for life, then there would be no danger in hearing what they do. But the trouble is, as soon as you hear they've gone out, or they've got Sony PlayStation, or they've been to see a football game, or they've gone away on holiday, all activities that normal children might expect through the course of their childhood, that will be turned round into...
Do we have faith in a system? Do we have faith in a system that's actually going to help rehabilitate them?
Because if the system already let this family down, are they just going to be namby-pamby about it again, or are they actually going to do something with this family?
Something else that's really interesting is, I reckon if we were having this conversation pre-Thompson and Venables, there would have been a slightly stronger view on the panel that, yes, we should know their names, because I can remember at the time that was going on, that a lot of people felt that the judge gave that information away. It's the fact that no good came of naming Thompson and Venables that I think stymies that. I think Anne's point about progress reports from prison would be quite interesting. Let's throw it open to you. Kirsty.
I've got lots of mixed views. First, we've got Becky on line 4.